Bear, Anti, Nate, how are you all doing?
Superb.
Same, doing fine.
Yeah, everything good.
Yeah, good. Good. All right, so let me share my screen. Sorry, I'm just a little bit behind today. Okay, so Risha, would you share with us just reading the sample mission? Hey, Zepki.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey everyone.
Hello. Just reading the sample mission here. The sample working group develops and grows the value of the economic layer of the token engineering commons. It aligns this microeconomy with the TEC mission and the collective success and individual benefit of its token holders.
Cool, thank you. Hey, Adam, welcome. I thought that we would kick off with a question that Bear and I have been talking about, which is what does it mean to each of you to put your heart into your work? What does that mean? Let's start off. Hey, Nate, would you be willing to kick it off?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's a great question, though. To put my heart into my work. I'm one of those people who I can find a lot of passion for a lot of things. I really, in order to do that, though, I need to have clarity on what the purpose is and what the goal is, and so the prerequisites for putting my heart into something is really something that I have to focus on, because it takes a lot of different variables. Community is one of them. I think having people that you work with, having that kind of same passion, that heart for it, I think is very, very important. And I also think that feeling like you have a certain set of skills that you're exercising, that you're utilizing, is another one. So I think that making sure that you feel empowered to go forward and put everything you have into a piece of work has a lot of different variables associated with it that need to be fulfilled. And I think that's, at the end of the day, what I'm looking for. And if there are deficits in some areas and not others, I try to figure out how to fulfill those deficits and try to make it to where everything that I do is fulfilling and empowering and satisfying to what I'm putting my energy towards. Because at the end of the day, that's the incentive, the equation that you're looking at is how much energy am I putting towards this and what am I getting out of it. And so, yeah, that's just my feelings towards it. You should have made pass it. Okay, I'll pass it over to Bear.
Thank you, Nate. Yeah, I actually resonate with a lot of things that you've mentioned. Yeah, especially this idea of the purpose, of the why am I doing what I'm doing, or why am I working in the place that I'm working. And that's something that I've really been able to find here in the TEC, but also like in the Web3 space and the crypto space, because I feel that the real for me, like the real use of all of this technology that is emerging can really bring a change for good, like in societies and in the world, and solve like really important problems that haven't been able to have a solution before. And that, like, being able to do that and be part of that, and again, like, find a community that shares the same thing, for me that's like finding my own purpose on what I'm doing, on the work that I'm doing, because I know that it all aligns with that bigger scope of like basically doing the world a better place, you know, like, and in doing it, so doing it in a different way, you know, not like the traditional or like the way society has been trying to do for so many years, right? But innovating and finding better ways constantly to do things, that's something I'm really passionate about, and that's what I feel my purpose is, and I try to translate this into my work, right? That work is reflecting that. So yeah, I'll pass it to Enti.
Cool, thanks. So, what does it mean to put your heart into your work? I guess you can see when I put my heart into my work, when you can consider my work as a extension of myself rather than just something I do just because. Um, I don't know, like about anything for other jobs I've had. You usually see me, one version of me at work, and then the other that's like myself. And so when I find something that I want to put my heart in, is because is that's just me, I guess. And that's sort of the outcome you see with that work. It's also a reflection of me, which means that I do it in a way that I know it benefits whatever I'm doing, even if that means it will it will not benefit me in the short term or something. I think that's that. I'll pass it over to Irene.
Thank you. These are beautiful answers so far. Yeah, I think the key words or phrases for me would be to community, purpose, and infinite play. It's a phrase that we're using in Kernel nowadays that I really love. Infinite play is just kind of, despite you may have, purposes and tasks and you want to get to a place, but it's really emphasizing the means and just really exploring and experimenting and growing and sharing along the way, which is, I think, so important. Yeah, and I love what you said, Enti, about work being an extension of your soul. It feels so natural. You're in such a flow when you do it. It's, yeah, it's very beautiful. And I'll pass it to Crypto Zach.
Hey, y'all. When I hear this, I think it's more working to build something or working to achieve a mission or for a purpose, whereas the opposite of putting your heart into your work would be working just to survive or working just for the money. Where if you have your heart in it, it's more than just for the money. It's for like the thing that you're actually accomplishing. You feel passionate about that mission.
Cool. Do you want to take a guess at asking it?
Yeah, Nate, have you?
I have gone, but you can pass it over to Richa. I think is not gone yet.
I'll pass it to Richa then.
Thanks. Okay. I guess I have 4 things that I wrote down quickly. For me, I think it's important to essentially feel like I'm bringing in integrity and presence. So just making sure that I'm creating space for the thing I'm focusing on and not really having distractions to like really build that presence. I want to make sure that it's aligned with kind of like high level principles that I value. I also want to make sure that it's actually providing like some tangible value to somebody else and it benefits people in general. And I guess the last one is that it feels like fun. So I would essentially look at like those set of things when thinking about what it means to put my heart into my work. I will pass it on to I think everyone's gone. Should I pass it back to Gideon?
Zepti.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm the last one. Yeah, I actually agree with what Richa was just saying, and I would also add, for me, it's like when you have a vision or something, and you really, want to make this vision a reality, and then you put your soul and your heart in there. It's like you need, I feel like it's all about motivation and see in the world whatever you are imagining. Back to you, Gideon.
These are so great. I think it's really important to ask these kinds of questions, and to like really take this seriously, because I'll just answer for me. Like for me, it's like a felt presence of like excitement. Like when I'm working from a place that's from the heart, it's like there's a fire that's there. There's like a passion and an excitement, in the sense that it's like I'm doing something that I actually was called to do. I think that's the difference between like a job and a calling. Is like this sense. It's like actually this thing that I'm doing right now is really aligned with my life purpose. And so, like the TEC, I've felt that way here for a long time, because I do think that we are in a position to like reprogram the very fabric of economics. And that will have a huge, going back to the thing that Bear was talking about, this is just like a huge lever, for change. So and I think the other part of it is just like, be excellent to each other, treat each other as fellow travelers on this journey, And Irem, that you mentioned infinite player and infinite games. I think is this backwards when I show this? I think it is probably, right? But this book, it is backwards, but you can see that it says finite and infinite games. I'll put a link there. This is one of my all-time favorite books, and you can tell it's just totally trashed. I've read this so many times. But that book, written by James Carse, talks a lot about how we can maintain roles, in our work and the way we show up in life, that are like finite play, where we like have to fulfill our roles, be accountable, do those kinds of things, but know that there is also this infinite player inside of us that's way bigger, and is here to like do something big and something that really matters in the world. And so that's why I ask these kinds of questions. Okay, so let us go to the next section, which is I want to see if Risha, I forgot to mention this to you, but I think just over the next couple of weeks, can you just be ready to do like an update on like what's happening with the curation service for us?
Yes, definitely. So can give a quick update. We had a really productive session. It was yesterday. Essentially, we finally were able to translate all of the different tasks and moving pieces into Clarity. So we went through like a quick walkthrough of that. And then Shahar showed us kind of like the latest product and any open questions he had. So the real question for him is, how's the Airtable sync going to happen and what fields are needed? Luckily, Acid Laser was there, so we sorted that out. And there was also a question about what's the gardening process look like? And I think you're just wondering whether we need gardeners to be able to essentially add an emoji before it makes it to the garden, or if it's okay to just edit it afterwards. And we kind of have like a stream investigating that right now, which is kind of going to be a second iteration. And then I guess like the biggest piece that came out as the next step was just figuring out what are our launch efforts now that like I think the bot has now been added to the server, so it's going to start collecting data. So what are our launch efforts? And I think we're essentially meeting, I think, next Wednesday, right before another curation meeting sync with Shahar, to figure out what this is going to look like and get broader input and essentially get this thing started, because we're pretty much ready to go in terms of just like starting to test.
Awesome, thank you. Rex totally jumped on it and has put the bot together like last night, and I think it's based on what he and Shahar were talking about. Sounds like it's now, and I think it pulled all the data from everything in the server, so they're cutting out all the stuff that is not the forum. So it's just going to be the stuff that's shared in the forum. So exciting! Yeah, I can't wait to see it. And the only other update I wanted to give is that yesterday I met with some folks who are partnering with the Common Sense team. And this happens to be somebody I used to work with a long time ago. And he showed me some of the stuff that they're doing. And I talk about passion. I just got super excited. So they are, this guy basically had a company that he built that was doing scraping Twitter accounts and LinkedIn accounts and basically using the data to look at influence networks within Twitter and LinkedIn, and to see who's influencing who in terms of the content that they're sharing and that kind of stuff. And that got acquired, and then he's now started up and kind of rebooted that whole thing and doing it in another way that's he showed me some of the results and I was blown away. He was showing me some of the people. Actually, Irem, you might be interested in this. They're involved in the kernel community as well. And so they were kind of looking at some mapping they'd done for some similar types of networks. And I happen to know some of the folks, and I just kept seeing more and more people who I really respect, just showing up in this cluster. It's like a cloud UI that you can kind of rotate around and look at the network. And I just was like, oh, there's not one deadbeat in this whole network. These are all just really cool, super engaged people. And I was like, how did you do this? And it was really, really cool. So then he zoomed in. I saw my name on there. And I was like, hey, can you click on that? And so he clicked on that. And then there was just all of these great people I used to work with who were just very engaged, very mission driven. And I was just like, wow, this is whatever you got here is pretty cool. So he's really, so one, the cool news is that they're going to be trying to integrate that in with the Common Sense tool that we're working on. So what that looks like exactly, I'm not sure yet, but he's offered to kind of also help us use the tool in some of our outreach efforts to get this tool adopted, to get the curation service adopted. And one thing I will say, so there's a lot that we don't know yet, but he, in terms of how that would look, but what he did say is that they can take a Twitter list and crawl that, and then basically use, let's say it was a Twitter list of 40, 50 people. They then crawl that and then go out like a snowball technique that just basically, that's what this technique is called, where you start with a base and then you just kind of keep going out who are these people influenced by, and who are they influenced by. You have to stop pretty soon because it gets really huge. But I think that this could be a very powerful tool for us. And specifically what I mean by that is that Vitalik Buterin is not going to do curation for us, right? He's not going to post stuff for us. And, neither are, Michael Zargam or, Angela, most of the people who are super well known and super influential are not going to be doing curation for us, right? But a tool like this will help us to find people who are kind of up and coming in their organization, who might have time to get involved and might be interested in actually working with the TEC to kind of help build their reputation online. So that is kind of, I think, a key strategy that we should be looking at. So anyway, I'm just very excited. I just want to share that with you. So welcome, Dr. Lau. It's good to see you here. We just lost somebody just because I was talking. But anyway, nice to have you here. Any questions before we move on to the next session about that tool, or just for Risha about what's happening with the service?
Just the comments. I think that's so useful what you just said, Gideon, because even though we want the service to be deployed on a general level and deployed by many people and useful to a lot of members of the community, I think once we have a little bit more focus on who are we really catering this towards, and who will get the most value out of it, I think it's important to have those specific personas and people that are going to use it the most, so that we can iterate and just focus our energy into getting those folks involved. So yeah, I really like that point. That's such a great idea.
That's great. I'm actually going to add that to the questions that we're going to go off and explore. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, sorry, I'm just typing that in as a question. Okay, so we're gonna. I think that the breakout technique has been working well for us. We've been like capturing a lot of good stuff. And it's not just like going into the ether. Like I'm digesting this. I'm encouraging. Actually, and Risha, I'm encouraging. All of us who are working on the service to like try to go back into these notes and harvest some of the insights. I definitely have been. In fact, actually, it's really helped me a lot. I just, before we break off into groups, I want to just start with a couple of frames to maybe think about to kind of help us, give us some constraint on the creativity, because I feel like having a little bit of like constraint around like what we're talking about will then help us become more creative about what we're trying to build here. The first thing, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, like how do we fit in with Token Engineering Academy? How do we build a relationship that's very synergistic? And so, I've been thinking about the TEC's role. This is part of a longer story that we'll come back to over the next couple of weeks, but like, I think one thing that we can really focus on that will be complementary to the Academy is the applications, like the solutions that are being built from all of this technology, like helping us to be a bridge between those who are actually, the engineers who are building these solutions and the engineering, the consulting firms and others, connecting them with the people who either want to be using this stuff or should be using this stuff but don't even know about it. So that kind of a solutions focus is something that I think would be kind of an interesting thing to play with in the curation, to focus our efforts. And this is my hypothesis that there's a ton of opportunity around helping people to understand how this stuff is being applied, what kinds of solutions are being built. Hey Rex, welcome. So that's just the first thing. I just want to like kind of get your thoughts on that. I'm not saying we're going to do that, but just for this first exercise, the first question, kind of just assume that for a moment that we would take an applications or solutions focus, and how would that affect the categories that we choose. And then the second point I want to just throw out there is that many of you know that I've been kind of playing with this idea of interest groups, that we might actually have like some places within the server at some point where you've got people who can come in and really focus on a particular issue, whether it's like safety or governance. We already have that today with governance and ethics, right? And so it's like, are there some other areas where we might be able to have people come in and talk about issues, not so much focused on TEC internal stuff, right? And TEC working group kinds of things, but it's more like governance, like how do we learn together about governance? How do we know what's actually happening? How are people applying this? Where are some of the problems? That kind of stuff. So that would be the idea of like an interest group. And the question is, maybe we use the curation service as a way to see what bubbles up, like test governance up on the curation service. And we're going out and organizing and getting a lot of people involved. And if that starts to take off, then we try to create an interest group around that. Now, in this case, we already have one, which is the SoftGov, but let's say it was safety, right? Like this question of token engineering safety. We had that as a category, and if it started to get a lot of engagement, then maybe we would create an interest group around that. And then the last two things are based on what I've seen from this tool and based on what I've been hearing from Shahar and others. The links, like sharing resources, is a very powerful application for this type of technology. But we've also seen that people have been just like posting comment or posting like ideas in there. And so I think I've been kind of thinking more that this is like a link sharing type service that will then be used as a way to kind of like generate the community's opinions about what resources out there are the most valuable. But I would like to throw that out for you all to talk about and just think about what that, is that true or is that not true? Should this also be available for just a discussion forum? And the last thing is the channel name. I've been talking too long. Let's if we have time at the end, I want to like reserve a little bit of time to just talk about the name for the channel. So right now, I'm going to just count off. So Bear, you're 1, CryptoZac 2, Dr. Lau 3, NT 1, Nidam 2, Nate 3, Rex 1, Risha 2, and break off into the breakout rooms, which are right below this section here. They're yellow, blue, red, based on the number that I just gave you. And if there's, what I would ask is if there's a group that doesn't have somebody who like knows a lot about the curation service in it, maybe I'll just come in and see how it breaks out. So go ahead and break out and then take a look at those questions and then talk amongst yourself. And please take notes as we usually do. So, Dr. Lau, are you there? Hey there. I think we're going to need to have, like, Auntie, can you drop over into number 3, room number 3? Hey, welcome back. Welcome, Marathon Mind. So, Marathon Mind, we are just coming back from some breakout sessions, so people are going to be reporting back on what they discussed. Let me go gather the rest of the folks. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to wait just a little bit. We've got one more group that's coming back. And in the meantime, if we can get someone from, let's see, someone from group, let's start with group 2. If somebody from group 2 could just summarize like the most important things that you pulled away from that.
Sure, I can do it. So with, just in general, I think one of the coolest points is that we should target category leaders in token engineering. Specifically, I think the Token Engineering Academy, if we can figure out how to kind of improve their processes and improve their product through some sort of partnership, that would be really synergistic and helpful, because we have skill sets and time that a lot of token engineers don't have, and we have different passions. So if we figure out some way to have synergy with them and improve their product, that would be key. We thought maybe the fire for the name for the forum channel, since we have all these different links and we're encouraging everybody to share a bunch of info there, we thought that calling it the fire hose, kind of like Twitter does, like if you have access to all the tweets on Twitter, it's called the fire hose. That might be pretty relevant. And then we can have another channel that is like a more crafted channel that has descriptions and rankings of all the different articles that were shared. We can name that something else, but I think we should. I'd like to name the channel that just encourages everything to be shared, the fire hose, and then those are the main points.
Okay, thank you. Group 1, can you do a quick? And I think we should just limit these to just like a minute or two.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So for categories, we came up with analysis, tokenomics, design, safety, something to do like with real life impact of how token engineering can play in like real life token communities and token engineering. But like the main thing with that, I think it would be really important to clearly define. I think there could be some misconception between the difference of tokenomics and token engineering. So be really careful with that. Then who should we be targeting with this service? People in the TC, like the different stakeholders in the ecosystem, like the Token Engineering Academy, CatCat, Common Stack as the mother DAO of the TC. Trying to get close with the tokenomics DAO, we think it's also important. Targeting researchers, writers, and emerging thought leaders or token communities within Twitter. We also think it would be worth trying. The upsides and downsides of keeping it tightly. Upsides, I think we just need to have like clear guidelines, and this can allow to be more focused in the content that and that could allow more partnerships with those content owners. The downsides is that maybe the links they don't allow to have deeper conversations as if we were just discussing a specific topic or idea. And for a name, we were not able to come up with anything. But personally, I like that one tackling. That one seems interesting. So I'll just pass it to group 3 for them to continue.
Okay, oh, I can go ahead. For the applications, we have DeFi mechanism design, DAOs, crypto economics, token engineering tooling, project analysis from a token engineering point of view, and legal and policy. Who should we targeting? We thought there's going to be probably depending on how we look at the target, and so for the input, it's probably going to be junior or intermediate TEs that would want to source information from the services, but then for the output, we would probably want to bring value to more larger T projects that would want to use the information appropriately, as well as have like the association we have talked about on sort of guiding the high level view of the input. The upsides and downsides. Upsides, anybody can participate. Information is more concentrated. Downsides, we would need a filtering process to prevent spam, and I think it also limits the creation of knowledge for interest groups. Like links are cool for communications, but I don't think that's the case for broader interest groups. And a way to limit to links would be to have either a strong curation body or a bot that sort of flags anything that's not a link and deletes it or whatever. And for names, we have tag link and community curator, or community signal was good as well.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Very concise summaries and great stuff in there. That's great. We're going to wrap up now because it's the top of the hour, and Idem's got to get to the orientation, and I'm going to go too, Idem. So thank you, everybody, for coming this week, and yeah, we'll see you all next week. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Gideon.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Is also coming, so if you don't have time, it's going to be of help in the orientation call.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Yeah, Nate is also coming to the orientation call to help us. So if you don't have time right now, yeah, he's.
Okay.